Welcome to the Passionpreneur Experience, where I examine the thoughts, energy, and strategy a side hustler needs to grow their entrepreneurial dreams, all while they work their corporate 9-to-5 day job. I'm your host, Bridget Cobb. Now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Passionpreneur Experience. And today I have the honor of having a guest on the show. Her name's Lakita Williams. She's the founder of CoCreate Work. And Lakita and I have a really great history. We worked together in a corporate experience. So where I'm still working, we used to work together on the same team. We also got coach certified at the same place. And I get to see her all around Seattle at some of our favorite networking events. So I was able and lucky enough to get her on the Passionpreneur Experience to share her journey and more specifically her expertise. So I want to say welcome to the show, Lakita.
Oh, thank you so much, Bridget, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I really admire watching everything that you are doing with the podcast and all of your work and your side hustle and next steps. So very excited to talk to your audience and help in any way I can and love everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show, Lakita. I'm super excited to have you here. Because today we're going to be talking about culture and how to build culture into our own businesses, and that's whether we're a solopreneur or we have a team. But before we get into culture, the topic of the day, tell me a little bit more about CoCreate Work and the company mission, what you guys do.
Yeah. So at CoCreate Work, we are a coaching and consulting company. So we bring both of those together. And what I really say is more than anything, we're culture strategists. So what we do is help founders, owners, emerging and small businesses find the right people. And we do that by helping them get planned and using a strategy for hiring. We help them identify their leadership strengths as well. And most importantly, we help them decide on the type of culture they want and help them put the systems and strategies in place to build that culture. We know that culture is foundational to the success and the growth of your business. And so we really center that in the work that we do.
Perfect. Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show because today we're going to be talking all about culture and how to build culture into our own business as entrepreneurs. And that is whether we're a solopreneur or whether we have a team. And it's funny, a lot of we think of culture or corporate culture. That comes to mind. I mean, we've all seen The Office, right? I love that show. Love The Office. Super hilarious. So company culture can sometimes get a bad rap. So why don't you set the record straight? Why don't you give us a bit of a better definition of what culture actually is, what it means?
Yeah, I love this question because I do think at times the term culture gets a bad rap. And a lot of it is about the execution, right? So if we use culture in a way that's exclusive, then you're exactly right. We won't have an inclusive culture. If we don't tend to the culture or plan the culture with intention is a word that we use a lot, then we will have kind of a rampant culture because either way, your business has a culture. And we're going to talk about this even in our conversation today. Even if you're one person, you're a culture of one. So you really want to think about those foundational pieces early. When I use the term culture and when we talk to founders about thinking, starting this process to think about the culture, we are talking about the context of your business. So what is the approach that you take and how you partner with each other, how you partner and serve your clients? All of that is included in your culture. We might use terms like how you interact with others, how we work together, and the way we do business. It also includes the norms you have across your company, as well as any systems that you have to support. So pretty much, I guess a quick and easy way to say it is the way you do business is your culture. And it needs to really have that intention and planning behind it.
All right. Thanks for that definition. I think it helps kind of clear things up in terms of what culture actually means. So, talk to me a little bit more about why this is important to build within our companies.
Yeah, and I think, everything starts with why. And I talk myself about purpose quite a bit, and maybe that can be another episode, but purpose is central. When we talk about why culture is important, it's because it's the foundation of your business. So your culture serves your business in terms of who you attract as team members, who you attract as customers, what community you want to serve, and it includes you. So culture is really foundational, and it helps you with decision making as well. One thing that we do, and potentially we'll talk about in a moment here, are some of the elements of culture, but it includes things like what are your company values or principles? And that is a huge part of how you attract the people who decide that they want to partner with you, work with you, and also what your customers come to know you for. So that you can think of culture as kind of a defining piece of your business, and it helps you with directionally where you want to go, as well as decision making. And one of the biggest decisions that it helps you make is like, who do you want to hire, and attracting the right people to partner with you in your business, even if you're not hiring someone full time. So let's say you or an individual entrepreneur, you want to partner with a contractor. What your culture is like and the experience that you're looking to create for your clients or customers will definitely come into play as you think about those partnerships and different decisions in your business.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, it's interesting that I feel like sometimes we put two different hats on, and we've got our company culture, which we often think is internal. So how do things function inside of my company? And then we think about our company brand, which is how our customers see us.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is really it's all in one. They all blend together and should be consistent across the experience that my employees are having inside my company and the experience my customers are having with me and my product and my or service and company.
100%. It's that blend. So it guides the reason that you started your business, which is your why, the experience you want your clients to have, even the benefits or offers that you have for your employees. Those all encompass culture. And when you have a really good sense of what it is that you are creating in the world and how you want people to experience your business, the norms you have internally, that definitely has an external function. And a lot of times where people get into trouble, and we see this with larger companies, right, where there's an internal culture potentially and they're not consistent, right? So we're saying we want excellent customer service externally, but we're not treating our employees well. Well, ultimately, that means that you're going to have a culture of poor customer service, both internally and externally. So they definitely have that connection there.
Yeah, makes total sense. So tell me a little bit more. Then you mentioned elements, the different elements of creating a company culture.
Yeah, I love this. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because I think sometimes the definition or idea comes across that we can't create culture, that it kind of just happens. And it happens if we don't set intention to it or if we don't intend to it. But there are some very clear things that you can think about, even right now, regardless of the size of your business, that can help you to start to build this company culture. So the first one that I would say is to outline the element of purpose for yourself. So why did you start your business and what are you looking to achieve? And it doesn't matter, we can go back and forth with purpose and mission and vision. And what I'll say is just lead with your why. So what's the purpose of your company? Secondly, is principles. So mostly people hear the term principles and what you can equate that to is values. I want you to go beyond just traditional values. So we value integrity and make it active. So what are the principles or the actions that we take as a business? For example, at CoCreate Work, one of our principles is to be a guide. So we believe in a coaching technique. And so what we do when we partner with our clients, we never want to just tell them what to do. We want to help guide them. And so that works both internally for how we interact together and externally for how we partner. So outline those principles.
Yeah.
The next thing that I'll say is systems. So what are the systems that you want to put into place that support you? So some systems could be we have a stand-up meeting once a week. Some systems could be that we are really hiring people through a very clear process, and we have some specific things that we do when we go to hire people. Systems, and I know this might be a little bit early for some of us, could be, how we talk about performance when we work with or bring people on board. So what are the systems that you're going to put in place to support your business? And all of these feed into your culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine, especially for people listening to this show,
Mm-hmm.
we've got companies of all different sizes. We've got solopreneurs, we've got small size businesses, and potentially even larger businesses. We've probably got a good mix of people that have gone into partnership with a partner or a friend.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of that comes into play to say, we've agreed on a set of standards or an environment and how we want to shape this company. And that could help ease some of the friction you might get, let's say, from owning a business with a friend.
Of course. Yes. And we see, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Bridget, because we actually, in our work, we see that a lot. So we have co-founders together, or even maybe a very tight-knit leadership team, or most of the organizations we have, they don't have a really large hierarchy. So they tend to kind of the work of the future as a flatter organization. And we work with a lot of co-founder groups or leadership teams to get in alignment. And so these first three steps of building company culture, purpose, principles, and systems, getting in alignment and agreement with those will definitely help with communication and to reduce friction as you go to grow the business and the company.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Man, so it sounds like it's extremely important to get these ethos, the systems, the processes in place so that you can make decisions quicker. You can take emotion out in some cases or ego out. It makes the company run smoother, obviously, but also it's a more enjoyable place to work when you understand the type of culture that you're immersed in. So it sounds like this is an extremely immersive process to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to actually delve into the two types of businesses that certainly I think we come up with mostly, which is a solopreneur, a single owner of a company, and teams. And I'm interested to know, how does culture fit in? If, like, for me, for example, I'm a business of one. I am the only employee in my business. So how does culture apply to me as a solopreneur?
Yeah, I love this question. So one thing that I want us to have a reframe around, or it might not be needed, but to first, for everyone listening, even if that, especially if you're a solopreneur, to say to yourself, most importantly, you're an entrepreneur. So it doesn't matter if you still have a side hustle or not, you're an entrepreneur. And I think when we put that kind of entrepreneur crown or hat on, then it helps us to think about this idea of culture in a different way, and how important it is. So any entrepreneur talking about their business, looking to scale, looking to add more customers would be thinking about culture. So it's absolutely important to you. And as we know, entrepreneurship is basically personal development on 100.
Correct.
Am I right? So it's like every day we're doing something that we, really don't know. We're learning. It's very difficult. Even if the work that we offer our clients is within our strengths, all the other things that support a business a lot of times is new to us. So we're constantly in personal development mode. And so, as we know, when we are developing and when we're working as an entrepreneur, we need a guiding force. And so that culture is your guiding force. So it includes the elements that I talked about earlier. And again, as you just mentioned, Bridget, it helps with everything from decision making to attracting both customers and clients. And I will say this over and over again, and we really encourage our clients to think about this. You attract your customers with your culture. So when they come to you, they want a certain experience based on what you've put out externally. So if you think about how you market, how you sell, the way you engage with people, even how you send out a contract, for instance, or a product, all of that is culture. And when we use the term culture, and I know I gave some steps earlier, we often think of it as technical. I think you even used the term like that was comprehensive, and culture can feel technical. But I think we break it down in that way just so that everyone will know that they can do it, right? That there are steps to culture. And if you put those in place, then you're going to be far ahead of the curve in developing the type of company and what it feels like when you go to sit down to work, even if you're just by yourself, right? So if a part of so let me ask you this, Bridget, do you have a process that you use consistently as part of your business?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about this podcast, for example, and how I produce the podcast, I love batching. That to me is important to maximize my time and be efficient. And so when I think about how I approach my work, batching requires a couple of different things: forethought, planning, commitment. Because if you're trying to do all of these episodes, let's say in one chunk, if I'm going to record 4 episodes in a row, then I've allowed myself weeks in between to do other things for the company, knowing that I've committed to myself to batch the podcast episodes on a certain day. And so for me, massive action is important. It's a big part of my business and my ethos, my thought process, and going through with my commitments, going through when I write things down on a calendar, it happens on that day. So, so that's important.
Exactly. So think about that. And a lot of times we just do these things because it's our second nature. But if you then bring someone into the business and we're not clear with them that this is important, even when you go through the hiring process, then you might end up hiring someone who has a different perception of timeliness. And that's going to cause some unnecessary friction because we weren't in agreement up front about what it looks like to work here and what the culture is that we are creating in our company. And I think I mentioned this earlier. So a lot of times we'll hear, the term culture can be exclusive, and it is exclusive if you use culture to say we only hire people who went to Harvard, right? Or have a 4-year degree.
Right.
Those things matter much less than and in most cases don't matter at all, right? And I think the data backs that up. And what matters much more is how you work, how you approach work, and then what this business does. So with your company and how you approach work, you believe in massive action, you follow through on the day that you say that you're going to get things done. So those are the types of people who you would want to attract to your business as you go to hire. So outlining that for ourselves as a part of our culture is very, very critical. Like at CoCreate Work, one of the things we do is we start meetings with a question. So just a general question. And that's something that we do internally and we do it externally with our clients. And it's a way of showing for our clients, right? What does culture look like? So I don't want necessarily all our clients to pick up asking a question at the start of the meeting, but I do want to model for them what inclusivity means or what building culture means. And so we would have to know that up front in order to then execute it in a way that aligns with our clients. And also I want to attract a team who is interested in that deeper work. As part of building and supporting our clients.
Yeah. And I also like that, we kind of started talking about the solopreneur space by saying you're an entrepreneur through and through. Doesn't matter if you've got a full-time day job that you're also working, if this job is on the side, you're an entrepreneur and you've got this business that's growing and flourishing. And I think it's important to go, from what you're saying on this exercise of culture, because again, in a mindset way, it's legitimizing your efforts. If you get caught up sometimes in that thought of, is this a business or a hobby? Is this a business? Am I in business? Oh, it's just my side
I love
hustle.
that.
I'll get to it when I get to it. That creates your results. And if you're not happy with your results, one thing to go back and look at, guys, is your culture. Have you defined that? Have you put that in place for yourself? Because, as I've talked about on other episodes, especially as a solopreneur, you often don't have anybody looking over your shoulder saying, did you get that done? It really is just you. And I like this idea of setting a culture intentionally and purposefully to establish, even in your own mind, the legitimacy of your business.
Of yourself. I think that's so powerful. And it's leading yourself, right? So as you build your culture, outline some of those elements, you are the leader to yourself and leading your business. So I think that's such a wonderful idea and a powerful exercise for everyone listening to go back and do if you haven't done it already.
Well, let's take a look at teams, because I feel teams, this is where you add, I imagine, quite a few interesting elements into building company culture or your own culture within your organization. So tell me, let's say I have a team, and either I've just started the company with a team or I'm now hiring my first team. So first of all, who do I involve when I'm trying to establish team culture?
Yeah, that's great. And so we have seen it both ways. Typically, we work with organizations where they are already a team. And so what I'll say is a lot of times we come in and work with the founder individually to capture some of their purpose and their mission for the business. And then we bring in those early founding team members to help us outline principles of the company and really help to build that culture together. So you can do it both ways. What I will say is usually the first few employees decided to bet on you as a business for a reason. And there's some attraction there. Because when we start, we usually don't have all the bells and whistles. Right. We don't have, all the benefits. So they were attracted to this business and the work that you're doing for a reason. Usually that's impact because as we know, even making six figures isn't, it's fantastic for what we need to do for the long term financially, but we also want to have purpose and impact in our work, which is the reason why most of us, it's the reason why I started CoCreate Work, is because it was important for me to have impact. So people are drawn to you for that reason. So if you have a few team members already, my recommendation would be for yourself to outline the purpose statement or mission statement of the company and start to think about the principles that you want to put in place for the organization. Now, you can do that principles portion with that small group or just on your own. I would say these two pieces are foundational for culture because it gives you the words to use and the agreements that you can have with the team as you are building this out. Because otherwise, if you, kind of just come in and say, well, our culture now is a culture of this, then people will be a little bit thrown off. So outline that purpose and write some principles down. And you can also facilitate like writing that down with the team. A question you can ask the team is, what does our business really stand for? How do we go about working with our customers and clients? What's different about us? And build the principles out from there. So you can do it as one or as a group.
No, I'm sure there's opportunity here uh, to find out if you haven't done this exercise before and you sit down with your team. Let's say you're working with CoCreate Work and you run this exercise. You might find some surprising insight or even some surprising, like, oh, I didn't know that's how my team was feeling about our company, or that's what they believed. So I imagine this is a powerful fact finding kind of mission in terms of the mindset of your team and how they're coming to work every day as opposed to how you're coming to work every day. You might be way more aligned than you thought, or it could even run the other way, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And we see this sitting down and getting those ideas on paper. I will say more often than not, what we see that is that there is some alignment across the team. And when there is not, usually the person or potentially the founder have felt, this probably isn't the right fit for a while. And that person now has a clear understanding of what it means to work with you or to work at your company or business. And they may say, hey, this isn't necessarily the right fit for me. We don't see that happen often, but to your point, Bridget, it's a very clarifying exercise for you and for your team.
That makes sense. So like you said, if you identify someone that, let's say you eventually set the team culture and you establish that, or it's building over time and you find someone's not aligning, you probably had that gut feeling from the very beginning, but you now have options. You can work with that person to bring them alongside, or they're going to find like this, it's not a good fit for you. It's not a good fit for me. And, it's time to part ways. So it's all, I'm guessing that's all part of the process.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about as teams evolve. So have you worked with teams that maybe have, let's say their culture of one. So let's take me as an example. I'm a culture of one.
Okay.
And I decide to start hiring rapidly, let's say. Do you think that as new people come on board that the culture shifts and changes, or is that the constant that they fit in or they don't?
I love the way you said that. So culture, it definitely will evolve and will be iterative. But what I will say is that you also want to have a foundation of culture. So this hiring piece, and ultimately, like a lot of times what we find is this is where there is some breakdown around culture. You need to hire or you bring in 5 people when previously it was a team of 3. There's going to be some evolution of culture, but the agreements or the basic principles should still be aligned. So if we have the principles of the organization, kind of the way we approach work and support our clients, how we market, for instance, then those things should remain pretty constant. But bringing in new people should also refresh ideas, right? Or it might change technology. It might, we have a culture of innovation, but now we can go to a different level. What I want to say is you can still embrace different perspectives. Again, I don't want the term culture to be used like as a way of exclusion. It's a way of inclusion. But you do have to have that foundational piece of what is this business about? What are we in business to do and support? And what does it look like for us to partner with each other as well as with our partners?
Yeah, it sounds like it's important to have some cultural North Stars, if you will. Like that is always going to be the guiding light. You're always going to be walking in that direction. And then as new team members come on, if they can enhance that journey towards your North Star, then why not be open to it?
That's exactly right. And you will actually use those elements of, your culture in the hiring process. So it shouldn't be you shouldn't end up in a situation where you're too surprised.
Yes.
And again, it should be that enhancement piece. But ultimately, when you're interviewing, you want to ensure that kind of the vision, the way your business approaches work. For instance, with us, we approach work in partnership with clients from a very like a luxury experience. What is it like to partner with us? And we want to interview for that as well. So, do you have exceptional customer experience, or do you believe that customer experience is a high priority? If not, then it probably won't be the right fit for you.
Yeah, makes sense. And I do love that thought of culture running again across your own employees or yourself and your customers, and how you should see that if you've got
Mm-hmm.
a very different company culture to what your customers are experiencing, and to the brand that they understand you to be, then I'm guessing that that's something to pay attention to. Are we really being authentic out there? And or maybe we're treating our customers much better than we're treating the inside of our own company. So
And that's going to come back around to
right,
haunt you.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Well, fantastic. All right. I'm loving all this. So I want to learn a little bit more about you, a little bit more about CoCreate Work. So I know that we were talking before the show about culture of care, and I thought that that was a really powerful message that that you're presenting right now. So can you tell everybody a little bit more about culture of care as a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. So the term culture of care, I would say, is most resonant for me because of my own challenges that I've been going through recently, just from a health perspective, as you're, the leader and the founder of a business. And so what I will say is to keep in mind that at any company that you have, regardless of size, even if it's just you, that we are human beings at the center of that company. And so, what I would encourage listeners to think about is, in this business, how am I caring for myself? And how am I caring for my team and supporting and building a culture where people have health and wellness? The reason that we started CoCreate Work is because we wanted work to be better for everyone. And so many of the businesses that we partner with have this as a priority as well. And so, in what it means to work as we move forward, I really want to encourage all of us to just incorporate, how do we care for ourselves? How do we think about wellness as a business? Because ultimately, making that decision to focus on wellness, health care, it doesn't matter the size of your business, or it even doesn't matter the budget. There are a ton of things that you can do, is going to benefit you as a business financially, right?
Absolutely.
But beyond that, it's going to benefit you and the humans that work with you, and those that you support. So I'm glad you asked that question, because I think is something that is often overlooked when we talk about business. We need to come in and we need to be someone completely different, or we only need to be, going 100 miles an hour. But actually, when you take a step back and have some intention, and support the whole human at work, then you're going to have much better outcomes, both mentally, physically, and
That's it.
financially.
Because I mean, I can imagine, especially with my circle, people I know, either we are working we're usually working a full time 9 to 5, as well as running our business. And I know I talk about this a lot, guys, but that's 8 or 9 hours that we're focusing on a day job. And then we're squeezing in hours before, in the middle of, after, to run our own business. And a lot of times we schedule over our self-care times. Like, we take the self-care time to
Mhm.
fit in extra work. And then, so we often have these conflicting priorities of work, in both regards, both day job and our own company. And then family and rest and health. Uh, what a lot to balance in that type of situation. And then a lot of us have left a corporate space to work for ourselves so that we could find more balance. And we know that, being an entrepreneur, as you said, Lakita, it's not always a skip in the park. It can be complicated, it can be difficult, it can be challenging. So building in this opportunity for yourself to find calm, balance, to revitalize a little bit, to get true rest. I mean, that's where you're going to reconnect with your creativity. That's where you're going to reconnect with your vision and your mission. If you're constantly buried, and you can't come up for air, then it's going to impact your ability to create and to really be present in your work. So I understand that is so important, and that's why I think it's, as you said, important to build it into your principles, so that when you are conflicted as to whether you should go for that walk or pound out another blog episode, you can reflect back, or blog post, you can reflect back on your principles and say, what's most important to me in this company? What's most important? What culturally, what do we do in this situation? And you reflect back on the principles, the mission, and the culture that you've set for yourself, either as a solopreneur or for your team. And that helps guide those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see it all the time. So we hear, companies have unlimited vacation, or we sometimes partner with founders and they're like, well, people aren't taking lunch. And a lot of times that's because it's not mirrored for them, or it's not modeled for them. So as the leader of the business, what we do trickles down across how people work with us and partner with us, whether we have a team or not. So if we believe that we can only work 24/7, then we go on to overextend ourselves, and we maybe feel bad about ourselves when we aren't working 24/7. But if we have a team, then we are modeling those behaviors for them. So it's really important to capture it, I think, in the culture and the way that we work. And then from there, model that execution and what it looks like to take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself, because I know we hear the term self-care a lot, it can be a variety of ways. It doesn't mean that we only, need to relax and take bubble baths, right? But bubble baths are awesome.
We're not saying they aren't. People.
But it can mean things like ensuring that we are working out, ensuring that we take a break in the middle of the day. Doing personal development. So investing in things like leadership development, which ultimately is going to give you a bigger lift as you lead your team and grow your team. Building a group of founders that you can just talk to and problem solve with. Of course, getting still and getting quiet in something like prayer or meditation. So there's a lot of different ways that you can think about self-care and taking care of yourself as the leader of the business, and also supporting employees. And so I would just encourage us to think about those and what do we really need to grow our team and to have an awesome business.
Super powerful. I love that. Well, thank you so much for giving us a better comprehensive, more in-depth look at what culture means, and especially breaking it down for the different types of companies, solopreneur, team-based, larger companies, because I think that's often something we get so focused on our products, what we're putting out into the market, what we're developing, how we're helping our customers, that it's very easy to forget what's happening at home. And so it's a great reminder to go back and get really, as you said, intentional about that, and watch the impact that it has on your company and ultimately your customers. So, yes. So to kind of round us out here, tell me a little bit more about what's going on at CoCreate Work and how we can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we have noticed as we partner with our founders is that hiring has been a really big opportunity or area of opportunity to start this culture work. Even putting one system in place in your business helps your culture so much and helps you to feel much more grounded. So we do have a waiting list open right now for our hiring course. And in that course, we actually walk you through the process of building your company principles, as well as using those to hire and grow out your team. You can also just go to our website and we have tons of goodies there for you. Bridget, we both have a coaching background. And so we really believe that questions are foundational to your business and growing your business. So if you go to our website, I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, but it's CoCreateWork.com. We have 40 high quality questions there for you, and they'll help you to accelerate your growth in business and your leadership. So it's just a list of 40 questions to help you think about things differently. And it's one of the best ways to grow. In terms, I would just love for the audience to follow me. So I'm most active on Instagram, believe it or not.
Well
and I'm on Instagram at Lakita M. Williams. And I actually do quite a bit of spot coaching and answering questions via Instagram via both stories and posts. So definitely follow us there. And anytime we add new goodies, free resources, then we add them and link from them there in Instagram as well.
And guys, I'm actually on the website right now, and it's chock full of stuff, tools, resources, the company mission, how to work with Lakita. So she's right. I've got all the links right now in the show notes. Go there now. You can click through and get access to all of this stuff. There's books on here, book suggestions. There's all sorts of good stuff, and you should definitely head over there and take advantage of it. Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited. I'm so glad that we got together. She's right. We went through the same coaching program. We work together in the corporate sense. We go to the same networking events, and I freaking love this woman. She is so driven. And if I can tell your company culture, just by speaking to you, I think you're a fantastic example of what we can really build and how we can get out there and achieve what why we stepped into entrepreneurship in the first place. So thank you for living and breathing your mission. Because I have a crap ton to learn from you as my company develops. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it, Lakita.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, Bridget. And you are doing some amazing things. I love all of the support that you are giving. I started off as a passionpreneur myself with a side hustle, and before I launched CoCreate Work. So, in all of the resources that you are sharing are so helpful and valuable, so that as we kind of go in our journey of entrepreneurship, when we hit a wall, we have something that we can come back to and help to get us grounded, because I truly believe a grounded, intentional founder is the best leader. So thank you so much for having me.
Man, we can't go past that. So on that note, I'm going to end it. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, we'll see you back here next time on the Passionpreneur Experience. Are you building your side hustle business all on your own? Well, you don't have to. Engaging with and being accountable to a supportive community will increase your productivity and keep you on track. Join my private Facebook community, the Passionpreneur Experience, and connect with like-minded side hustlers just like you. Head to the show notes now for a link to the group and start building the business of your dreams.